Hello everyone. Let's start our second day of AAA Practice to Pass session. I hope you all remember that in the previous class, we had a discussion on some basic advices relating to AAA, and then we had a discussion on September-December 2021 exam paper. In that exam paper, we were doing question number 1, and we completed 2 parts of the question. I hope you all remember, we started with a briefing note, we wrote an introduction. Part A, we didn't attempt, we left it that we'll do at the end of this question because it was not a routine part, and then we did audit risk part. I taught you people a brief discussion about audit risk, writing technique, mark allocation, and what we can include in the audit risk. I hope you all remember. Then we discussed all the audit risk, we drafted it along in the class. We used analytical procedures, we discussed different accounting issues, impact and everything. Then we moved towards one more part that was relating to audit procedures. That was part C. Before doing that part, we wrote a basic idea that what audit procedures are and how we get marking for it. Today we are moving forward. We will try and complete this question and we will do one more question in today's session. I hope that you people are understanding the exam technique, how you have to deal with the complete exam paper, how you have to draft and develop the answer. As we started in the previous session, we will continue the same approach today also. Okay, now today we are moving towards the part D of the question, which is an easy one, the ethical issue requirement. I told you people in the previous class that while attempting the questions in the exam, it is very important that you attempt those parts first, which are routine parts, the parts in which you have a better grip, a better knowledge, rather than attempting the non-routine part or attempting the abnormal requirements at the start. Go for easy one so that you can have a confidence booster, you can save your time, and everything goes normal towards the end of the paper. Okay, now today we are starting with part D of this question, which is using the information in Exhibit 5, discuss the ethical issues raised and recommend the actions to be taken by our firm. Now, when we talk about ethical issues, that how we have to develop the issue of ethical matters. Okay, so for ethical issues, what I advise to my students is, listen to me. When we talk about ethical issues, what you need to understand is that you can use code of ethics and independence issues in ethical matters. Now, what do you mean by code of ethics? You can use integrity, objectivity, competence in due care, professional behavior, confidentiality, the 5 points of code of ethics, and you can use the threats of independence also. When you are writing ethical issues, you can use code of ethics, you can use independence issues. You can also use general professional issues, like if there is any matter which creates a general issue of lack of professionalism. You can use code of ethics, you can use threats to auditor independence, you can use safeguards and actions to be taken. Okay, now 1 mark for each threat. You will get 1 mark for each threat, action, or any other issue. For every matter, you get 1 mark. Now, this is very important. What you need to understand is that don't write too much in every point. The maximum you will get is 1 mark. So don't get involved in too much detail. Okay, the maximum you will be getting will be a 1 mark for each point. 1 mark for every point you are developing. Okay, now in AAA exam, the examiner expects that students evaluate the issues. Like if I make a comparison of ethical matters in AA and in AAA, AA is F8, Audit and Assurance, and AAA is Advanced Audit and Assurance, P7. If I compare the examiner's answering approach What I will see a difference is that in AAA exam, please listen to me, in AAA exam, the examiner wants the student to evaluate the issue. Now, what do you mean by evaluating the issue? Listen to me, please have some patience and listen. Like, for example, if you are saying that auditor is providing non-audit services, so it is a self-review threat. Now you have to evaluate the issues. You have to develop the evaluating points. Like you will look that what is the value of non-audit services. You will look that whether management is supervising that non-audit service or not. You will look that whether the non-audit service involves clerical work or it involves subjective assumption-based work. What I'm trying to say is that in AAA exam, the examiner wants you to evaluate the issues. Like I'll give you one more example. For example, if audit team member has taken a loan, please listen to me. If audit team member has taken a loan from the client, then it's a self-interest, right? We all know that. But you need to evaluate. Like we will look that what is the amount of the loan. We will look at what are the terms of the loan, whether they are normal or abnormal. We will look at what is the position of that audit team member in the firm. So what you need to understand, what you need to evaluate is that in AAA, what the examiner wants is that while you are developing the ethical issues, you should have an ability to evaluate. You should have an ability to evaluate rather than just identifying the issues, rather than just identifying their impact. The examiner wants that you should develop small points on evaluating the issue. Now, I have developed a very good handout for my students in which I give them a list of evaluations. If you will give me a minute, I will open that handout on the screen. I will share it with you people. Okay. I will share that handout with you people after the session on the WhatsApp group, and I'll put the link of the documents on the comment section of the videos. Okay, so give me a minute. I'm stopping the pausing the screen sharing, and I'm opening my document so that I can show you people. That will be very helpful so that you people can have a list, a variety of evaluation points. Okay. Now, just give me a second. Ethics. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. So this is the handout. I have opened it on the screen. Okay. Now in this handout, what I have done is that I have given some learning points, some evaluation points. Like for example, if I discuss a situation of the loan, which I referred to you people, like, and this will be very helpful for you people while you are dealing with the exam answer. For loan taken by audit team member, which I discussed with you. So if you get a situation in which an audit team member has taken a loan, so these explanation points will be very useful for you people. Please confirm me, can you people see my screen? I've shared it. Can you people see it? Okay, now see, if the audit team member has taken a loan, you can use these points. That if audit team member has taken a loan from client entity, then it creates a self-interest threat. Now, this is the basic point in which you identify the threat. And then you will give the evaluations. Now, what are the evaluation? However, it needs to be considered that if loan is taken at normal market terms, then it will not create a significant threat. Position of audit team member who has taken the loan also needs to be considered. Audit team member may be asked to repay the loan. Okay. Another option may be to rotate him from the audit work of the client. Terms of the loan taken by the audit team member should be reviewed. Okay. I will share this document at the end of the session on WhatsApp group. Those who are not on the WhatsApp group, you people can message me after the class on my WhatsApp number. I will add you in the group. So don't worry about it and stop writing this, that sir, please share the document, please share the document. Okay. So I will share on the group and I will put the link of Google Drive folder on the comment section of those who will listen to the recording, and those who are my existing students, they already have the access to it on the learning management system. So just listen to what I'm teaching currently. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that whenever you will get an ethical issue, you people need to develop a list of evaluation points. In AAA examination, please listen to me. In AAA examination, it is very important that when you look at an ethical issue, you should not be just identifying the issue. You should be using an approach of evaluating the matters. Like we discussed this issue of loan taken by audit team member. If we pick up any other issue, like if there is any gift and hospitality, like if the client is giving any gift or there is a situation like that, for every point you will get 1 mark. For every evaluation, for every point you will get 1 mark. Okay. So the approach is very simple. The examiner says that don't just identify the points. The examiner says that don't just identify the points. For every point, for every evaluation, 1 mark for each threat, action, or any other issue. 1 mark for every evaluation, and for every evaluation. Just a second. For every evaluation, action, etc. Okay. So when I use this word that you people have to give an evaluation, what I mean to say is that you have to discuss that how this issue can increase or decrease. Yes, 1 mark for every evaluation point. Like if you write 3 or 4 evaluation points, you can get 3 or 4 marks. So what the approach should be that at the start, you will identify the threat, 1 mark, and then you will write multiple evaluation points. 1 mark for the threat or issue when you identified, and then multiple evaluation points. Then you will write few actions. Okay. Like for example, if there is a situation of gift and hospitality, you can write that if client is providing gifts and other favors, then it may create self-interest threat. Then we will consider that whether the gifts are of nominal value or they are of any big value. You will consider that what is the event of the gift, whether it was gifted in a normal situation or whether there was some abnormal circumstance. Like for example, if there is a birthday and someone gives you a small pen or something like that, then there is not an issue. Ethical training may be required of audit team members who accepted the gift. Then you can write that however it needs to be considered that some level of gifts is normal in the industry. We can never be too much strict. Okay. Audit firm should establish internal procedures for its employees that while accepting the gift, they should take the approval. Now, this document is a life-saving document. What I have done is I have identified many issues and I have developed a list of evaluation points on them. Okay. And as a gift from my side, I will give you this handout and you people can use it while answering your questions. Okay. Now let's come at the question and let's look at the question that what he is asking in the question. Okay. And we will solve the question using this handout. Now, discuss the ethical issues and recommend the actions to be taken by our firm. So we are looking at exhibit 5. I want you all to concentrate on it. Now, a meeting took place yesterday in which the audit engagement partner discussed the potential sale of Martin Gruber share with the company directors. The company directors revealed that Willis Company is the company with whom negotiations have started in relation to sale of Martin Gruber shares. Willis Company is an existing audit client of McLean and Company. The directors have requested that McLean and Company assist them with the sale by performing a vendor's due diligence service in which they would conduct an independent review of Gruber Company financial position and future prospects and produce a report on their findings to be provided to Willis Company. Now, this is the situation. If I will give you a brief review, you people listen to me carefully. We are the auditors. We are McLean and Company. Okay. We are the current auditors of Gruber Company. We are McLean and Company, the audit firm. We are currently the auditor of Gruber Company. Okay. The Gruber Company's chief executive officer and majority shareholder, Martin Gruber, is selling his 60% share to Willis Company. Now, Willis Company is also our audit client. Now, what Gruber Company wants from us is that we prepare a due diligence report. We prepare a due diligence report. Okay, the directors have requested that McLean and Company assist them with the sale by performing a vendor's due diligence service in which they would conduct an independent review of Gruber Company financial position. Now, there will be a very big conflict of interest. What you need to understand is, if we will write that Gruber Company is not a good company, so obviously Gruber Company will say that what you are doing, we have been giving you so much business. Why are you writing things like that? So there will be a conflict of interest. Similarly, we will be preparing the report on behalf of Gruber Company, but this report will go to one of our client, which is Willis Company. So this will be a situation of conflict of interest. This will be a situation of advocacy. Okay, and we cannot enter in any such situation. How can we become the valuer? How can we become an advisor? Now the question is that, sir, do we have any such, listen to me, do we have any such situation in the handout which you have given? Yes, there is one issue in relation to it which I have covered. I hope it is here. Just a second. Just a second. It was here. Less intrusive, general integrity issues. Now there can be a client. Just a second, I must close this window of the camera. Now the first issue which is covered in my handout is non-audit service issue, business partnering, dealing with two client, family member, client not agreeing, client exception, resignation of the bank loan negotiation, threat of client deadline issue, lowballing, gift and hospitality, less intrusive, general integrity issues, previous year modified opinion, objectivity concerns, advertisement, offshoring, okay, cross-selling fees, long association, referral fees. Okay, now see, in this handout particularly, we don't have this issue covered in which we are giving advisory to our client. But you can find a similar issue when you will look at it here, in which we can say that we are dealing with two clients of similar industry, because you can say that we will be providing service to Martin Gruber for valuation. We will be providing service of valuation to Martin Gruber, and that report will go to Willis Company. So you can use the points of conflict of interest. Now you can get similar points. You can get similar points from here, dealing with two clients of same industry. That can be some helpful. Okay. So, but if I talk about this situation specifically, in this situation, you can cover the point of conflict of interest. You can cover the point of confidentiality, that there will be issues of confidentiality. You can argue that we will become advocate. We will become advocate. Advocate of whom? We will become advocate of Martin Gruber. We will become advocate of Gruber Company. And since we'll be writing the report on their behalf to Willis Company, and then you can discuss several actions in which you can take. You can use separate teams. You can give a disclosure situation that, okay, there will be a disclosure. We will tell them that we are involved in such services. Okay. So now, so if we are dealing with two clients of same service, what we need to understand is that if providing services to two clients of same industry, then there can be issues of confidentiality. There can be issues of conflict of interest. Why there can be issues of conflict of interest? Because both clients will require that we help them with their interest. Okay. Then you can refer that it is normal that such services are provided. We deal with multiple clients of same industry. Now, this specific heading will not fit into your situation. But what I tell to my students is that whenever you will read this handout, you will have a good grip on this handout. This handout will help you in developing and improving your understanding and your ability to evaluate the issue. This handout will help you in developing a positive impact, that how you have to think and how you have to develop the evaluating points, rather than just identifying the issues and rather than just pinpointing the matters that, okay, this will happen or this will happen. Okay. Because in AAA exam, what the examiner wants from students is that students should be evaluating the issue rather than just putting them out. Okay. Now, if you look at the requirement, that how many marks he is giving us 8 marks here. He is giving us 8 marks in this point. Okay. Now, if we go back and we start developing the points. Now, what you need to understand is that you will get 1 mark for each of the points. Now, when you are getting 1 mark for each of the point, what you need to make sure is that you should not be writing in too much detail. You should be writing small points. Now, listen to it. If McLean and Company, or you can write if our firm will provide due diligence report services to Gruber Company for Martin Gruber shares, then it will create issue of conflict of interest. Why it will create issue of conflict of interest? Just a second. Then it will create issue of conflict of interest, as this report will be used by one of our existing audit client, Willis Company, if I'm not wrong, by Willis Company. Okay, will be used by one of our existing audit client, Willis Company. Gruber Company might expect or use its influence on our firm to prepare a favorable report, so that shares are sold at a higher value. Okay, so first of all, it can create a situation of conflict of interest. First of all, it can create a situation of conflict of interest. Why it will create a situation of conflict of interest? Because Gruber company can require that, okay, you are our client, we are paying you a good amount. Then why are you not giving a favorable report? You should be giving a favorable report to Willis company. Now, second, issues of confidentiality may also arise as Willis company, who is the potential buyer, in this transaction, may require our firm to give some insight of Gruber company, considering that we are existing auditors of Willis company and Gruber company both. Now both of them will be expecting that. Now obviously Gruber company will be expecting that we'll give a favorable report, and Willis company will be expecting that we will give them some internal confidential information. So issue of confidentiality may also arise as Willis company, whose potential buyer in this transaction, may require our firm to give some insight of Gruber company, considering that we are existing auditors of Willis company and Gruber company both. If our firm will use its position as auditor to provide any additional information relating to Gruber company to Willis company, then it may create situation of confidentiality breach. Now, so the first issue in this regard was the conflict of interest. Please listen to me. First of all, you identify the issues. The first issue in this regard was of conflict of interest. The first issue in this regard was conflict of interest. The second issue in this regard was confidentiality. Are you getting it? Now you will highlight some actions which you can take. What actions you should be taking? Our firm should give a disclosure to both entities before accepting any such engagement. Further, a confidentiality agreement should be signed that no client will require any confidential information from us. Okay. Now, first of all, what we said is that this will create an issue of conflict of interest. Then we said that, okay, this will create issue of confidentiality also. Now we should give a disclosure to both of the entities. What else we can use? We can use a separate team. For every issue and for every action, you will get 1 mark. For every evaluation, you will get 1 mark. So for ethics, learn the approach which I am using. Develop small paragraphs. Okay, I have given you this list of points. This list of points include so many issues. Now, obviously, this do not include all the issues, but it includes majority of the issues which can come in the exam. When you will read these issues, when you will read these responses, you will learn the ability to evaluate. Okay, now this can happen in the exam, that the situation of the exam is not exactly covered in the handout. Obviously, I'm not saying that this handout is whole and soul, but what can happen, what can be useful in the exam is that you can get few points from different headings to develop your answer, and it will help you to develop the evaluations. Okay, so first we identified the issue which is of conflict of interest, then we identified matter of confidentiality, then we wrote an action. Okay, are you people getting it? This handout is not for revision of ethics. This handout will give you a list of points which you can use while developing your answer. See, what I'm trying to say is that when in an exam a student gets an 8 marks situation, the students get stuck, their mind do not work, that how to write 8 points. This handout can give you different evaluating points and different identification points and different actions. Even what you can do is that while you are doing the past papers, you can add few more points also. Okay, now, so first we identified the issue of conflict of interest, then we identified the issue of confidentiality. We said that we should give a disclosure. What else we can use? Separate teams can be used for auditing services and for valuation services. What you can do is that you can use separate teams. Now, what do you mean by using separate teams? What does this mean? The one team which is doing auditing will be separate and the team which will be doing the valuation services will be separate. Now, this can help in resolving the confidentiality issue. Why this can help in resolving the confidentiality issue? Because when you will use separate teams, they will not have access to the data. Okay. Now, one student has asked, sir, if we write 3 issues and 5 safeguards, will we get 8 marks? Yes, you will get 8 marks. If you will look at the marking scheme which the examiner provides, you will understand the approach that what examiner wants is a 1 mark point. He do not wants that you write 4 actions and 4 issues. No. You can write 8 actions, you can write 8 issues. You can write 4 actions, 4 issues, 3 actions, 2 evaluations. You can use whatever mix you want. Okay. Now, separate teams can be used for auditing services and for valuation services so that confidentiality issue is resolved. Team which will be doing valuation services, just a second, which will be doing valuation services should not have access to audit data so that no confidential information is breached. Further, both team members can also be asked to sign a confidentiality document. Now we get the confidentiality document signed by both of the clients also, that they agree that they will not ask us to do something wrong, or they will not ask us to share some confidential information. And we can ask our team members also. Now what we can ask from our team members also, that you have to make sure that you don't share any such information. Okay, so we identified the first issue which was relating to conflict of interest. We identified another issue which is relating to confidentiality. We commented on an action that we should give a disclosure to both of them. We said that we should use separate teams. Are you people getting it? Now, what else you can do? Now, one action is very uniform and that can be used in multiple situations. If our firm considers that issue of conflict of interest will be significant and it cannot be resolved, then our firm should politely decline Gruber Company for valuation services. Now this is a very simple action. Now see, what I always say to my students is that try and learn the approach with which I develop the answers. Try and learn this approach. I am writing small points. Now I have in mind that, okay, I have a target of 8 marks. I will write 8 small points and I will try and cover the issue. Okay. Now, a very important thing which I want to highlight here is that what many students do is that they develop very close points. Now, what do you mean by close points? That all of the points are very near to each other, like all of them are explaining a very similar thing. Now that can create a problem. See, if you look at all of my points, what I am doing is that I first of all picked up issue of conflict of interest. I picked up issue of confidentiality. I picked up an action of disclosure to both entities. Then we talked that, okay, use separate teams. Then we said that, okay, you can go for politely decline also. Are you people getting it? Now let's move forward. Now we are moving towards the sixth matter. Now, if you look at the question situation, now Martin Gruber is selling the shares, and Gruber Company has asked us to give the valuation. The directors have requested that McLean assist them with the sale by performing a vendor's due diligence, in which they conduct an independent review of Gruber Company financial position and future prospect, and produce a report on their finding to be provided to Willis Company. Now you can say that when we will develop a future prospect report, we will become an advocate. We will become an advocate. Advocate of whom? We will become an advocate of Gruber Company. Why? We will write and review the report on the Gruber Company's future prospect. Okay. Now, this situation can also lead to advocacy threat as if our firm will report on future prospects of Gruber Company, then it will be advocating its own audit client to Willis Company. Okay. This will also lead to a situation of advocating your own client, because you will be promoting their interest. Okay. As per ethical standards, an auditor cannot be advocate of its own audit client. Now, one student has identified a point, says, can we write a point on competence of the firm to perform valuation services? Yes, you can write, but what you need to understand is that normally the auditors should have the competence of valuation services. Okay, the auditors should have this competence. Okay, one student has identified a point that, sir, we can use independent review in our audits if we are providing this service. Yes, you can write that also. Okay, now let's include one more point. A self-review threat may also arise while auditing Willis Company financial statements if Willis Company invests in Martin Gruber shares. Now, why self-review threat will arise? Listen to me very carefully. This investment will appear in Willis Company financial statement, and it was done on the due diligence report prepared by our firm. While auditing financial statements, which will include investment of which we ourselves performed due diligence earlier, we may not have independent skepticism. Now see, now many students think that, sir, we think that our mind will not go till there. Now this is the point where I want you all to learn to use these types of handouts. And very important, I don't ask you to learn through my handout. I want you all to develop your own handouts. What students do is, now listen to me, this is very important thing, and this is my learning while I used to do my studies. Now this is my learning. What you people do is that you read the past papers like a newspaper. I will repeat it again. You people read the past paper like a newspaper. Okay, question, answer, question, answer. There is no benefit of doing this. What you need to understand is that when you read a question, then you read an answer, you should have your book, your copy, in which you list down the pointers which the examiner is normally using. Now, in ethics, this approach is very useful. Now, listen to me very carefully. When we talk about ethics, you people must have observed that same issues repeat every time. Or if I will not use the word same, the better word will be similar issues. Similar issues repeat every time. So if you have done reading of last 15 attempts or last 20 attempts, ethics questions, read the question, read the answer, and make a list of common points like I have made. Now, obviously, when I'm making this list, I have analyzed many past papers, I have used my points. And now what is the benefit of this document? That every time when I develop the answer, my mind works that, okay, I can use this point. I have read it in this answer. I can use this point. I have learned it in my handout. Okay, now I can develop a good pointer. Okay, so what you people need to understand, people need to evaluate is that don't just read the past papers like a newspaper. When you read the past papers, make a list of pointers. Now, one student told me yesterday that, sir, why you are teaching us like we are small kids? So I always say that if you want to pass the exam, you have to become a student again. You have to learn like a student. Okay. Now, so the first was conflict of interest. The first was conflict of interest, number one. Second was confidentiality. Third was Third was that we have to go for disclosure. Fourth was use separate teams. Fifth was situation of that if conflict of interest cannot be resolved, you can go for politely decline. Then sixth, advocacy. Seventh, self-review threat. And the last point, which one of the student identified, our firm can use independent reviews in audit of, what are the names? In audits of Gruber Company and Willis Company, if this valuation engagement is accepted. Independent reviews will help in reducing the ethical threats. Is it clear? Now see, with such a simple approach, I have completed 8 marks. With such a simple approach. Are you people getting it? Now, many students say that, sir, we don't think that we will get marks on this, because when we read the examiner answers, they are very much detailed. Now, I will take 1 minute and I will try and teach you one thing. What you people need to do is go on ACCA Global and go for AAA past papers. Okay? What I'm trying to teach you people, how you have to develop this learning. Go on the answers, and rather than reading the answer itself, what I recommend to my students is that go on the marking scheme. The marking scheme is always given in the end. Now read this marking scheme. Read this marking scheme. See what the examiner is saying. Up to 1 mark for each relevant explained answer point. Now, obviously, what you people need to understand is that for 1 mark, you will now write 10 lines. For 1 mark, you will write 2-3 lines. Conflict of interest between Gruber Company and Willis Company. Conflict of interest impacts the auditor's objectivity. Recruitment, that a professional accountant shall not allow conflict of interest to compromise professional. Requirement that a professional accountant shall not compromise. Okay. Risk relates to valuation of Gruber company shares. Risk of breach of confidentiality. Full disclosure to be made. Safeguards may be used to reduce the threat of objectivity. You can write multiple safeguards. Advocacy threat. Safeguards to reduce advocacy threat. Management responsibility in relation to Gruber company. Okay. Obviously, my friend, the answer should be reflection of the marking scheme. If someone teaches you answer which is not according to the marking scheme, you will get a very beautiful 0. Okay. So the answer should always be similar and they should always be reflection of the marking scheme. So what I always advise to my students is that you people should learn to deal with the marking scheme rather than reading the answers. What you people do is that you people go and read these long answers, and then you get frustrated that, oh sir, the examiner has written so long answer and you wrote such a small answer. That is not important. The important thing is that whether you cover the marking scheme or not. Okay. Now in marking scheme, see, there are so many points. You need to cover 8 points from the marking scheme to get 8 marks. So, see, we discussed about conflict of interest. We discussed about confidentiality. Okay. This one is conflict of interest. Okay. Then we identified the issue that there can be breach of confidentiality. Then we discussed that we should make a full disclosure. Then we discussed the safeguards. Then we said that if the conflict of interest cannot be resolved, then we should politely decline. Okay. So, my advice for dealing with questions relating to ethics, for dealing with questions relating to ethics is to develop small points. Learn the ability to evaluate the risk. Like just not pick up the points, discuss them also. Okay, write small points and read this handout. I will share this handout on the WhatsApp group also. I will share the document link on the comment section also. And still, if you cannot go get the document, you people can contact me on my WhatsApp number. I will share it with you. And along with this document, try and develop your own handout also. Add some more points also. I hope that this clarifies. Okay, so these were simple 8 marks. Now we are going back towards the part A of this question, which we left. That was matters specific to the planning of an initial audit engagement, which should be considered in developing the audit strategy. Okay, now this was the part A that was of 6 marks, which we left at the start. Discuss matters specific to the planning of an initial audit engagement, which should be considered in developing the audit strategy of Gruber company. Discuss the matters specific to the planning of the initial audit engagement, which should be considered. Now, what matters which we should consider? Now, I want you all to participate with me. What are the matters specific to the planning of initial audit engagement? Now, what do you mean by initial audit engagement? Initial audit engagement means first year of audit, which should be considered in developing the audit strategy. Now, how many marks? 6 marks. Now, see, one student wrote on the comment box that we will consider about the fees. My friend, please stop here and listen to me. Fees should be considered before accepting the client. What you need to understand is that we have already accepted the client, so we cannot talk about the fees. Okay, and this part is relating to the initial audit engagement, first year of audit. So what are the matters we will think? So again, I will say that professional clearance was obtained before accepting the audit. My friend, we have already accepted the audit. Once you have accepted the audit, then why will you go for professional clearance? Please, again, discuss the matters specific to the planning of an initial audit engagement which should be considered. Now, one thing which I want to highlight here for you all, please listen to me. Please listen to me. One thing which I want to highlight, many of the students write general answers. Don't write general answers. Use the name of the company and try and refer maximum data of the question while writing the answer. Just don't write the general answers. Number one. Now, some students are sending me procedures. If you will write procedures, it will get wrong. This is not audit procedures. Please read the answer. What is written here? Discuss the matters. He's not asking that what we should be doing. He's saying discuss the matters specific to planning of initial audit engagement. Now, what will be the matters? Please listen to me. What will be the matters? Our firm should consider, now listen to me, how I'm writing the points. Our firm should consider, now what matter our firm should consider? Our firm should consider the matters which were highlighted. Please listen to my words. Our firm should consider the matters which were highlighted in the professional clearance from the previous auditor while developing the audit strategy. Now, what does this mean? Now, when we communicated with the previous auditor while accepting the client, we have already communicated. I'm not saying that you have to communicate now, but when you already communicated it, they must have given you, they must have highlighted some issues in the entity. So you should consider those matters while developing your audit strategy. Now, for this part, I will just say that keep some patience and listen to me very carefully. Believe me, you will learn how to develop the answer. Our firm should consider matters which were highlighted by previous auditor in communications done with them while acceptance of clients. If any matters relating to accounting treatment, please listen to me. If any matters relating to accounting treatment, weakness of controls, or any professional issues were identified in those communications, then they should be considered while developing audit strategy of Gruber company. Now see, this is a 1 point for which you will get 1 mark. Now, I will say this, that many of the students who sent me the pointers here were not very much up to the mark. Now, I will say this, but the major problem that many tutors say that when the examiner asks matters specific which you should be considered in planning, you should start writing the audit procedures. Now, this is wrong. Audit procedures are performed during the audit. We are developing the audit strategy. Why will you write audit procedures while developing the strategy? You are currently in the planning phase. So the examiner has also identified it many times in his comments that the major problem with the students is that they don't know how to bifurcate, how to divide different phases of the audit. Audit planning is a different phase, audit procedures during audit is a different phase, and reporting is a different phase. So here he is asking the matters relating to initial audit engagement which should be considered in developing the audit strategy. Okay. One student has asked, sir, can we write the answer of part A after part B? Why do you want to attempt it afterwards? I also left the space for it. We completed the rest of the answer and then we came back to part A. Now in computer-based exam, it is very easy that you can you can come back and write the answer afterwards. But don't break the sequence. If you will break the sequence, your professional marks will be deducted. Okay. Further, what else we should consider? Further, we should also consider what else we should consider? Further, we should also consider previous year audit report while developing audit strategy of Gruber company. Previous year was not audited. Previous year was not audited by our firm, so it should be considered while developed. Previous year was not audited by our firm, so its audit report should be considered while developing audit strategy of current year, so that if any issues were identified in it, then they can be included in our audit strategy. Okay. What I want you people to understand the requirement. Now, one more important thing. What many students do is that they try and do the answers in rush. That okay, just mix it with any other topic and just go with it. No. Read the requirement, what it is asking. It is asking the matters which should be considered while developing the audit strategy. And specifically, since it is the initial audit engagement, since it is the first year of audit, what other matters you can consider? It should also be considered, that what are the applicable laws on Gruber company, as it is an initial audit engagement. Our firm may not have sufficient knowledge of Gruber company's business and its environment. List of applicable regulations and details of business environment need to be considered while developing initial audit engagement strategy. Okay? Are you people getting it? Are you people getting it? Please respond. Now I have a question from you people. Please listen. Are you people feeling that there is any change of approach coming in you people? That you people were originally thinking in the wrong direction. What I'm trying to do is that I want you people to develop this sense that you have to read the requirement and you have to answer according to the requirement rather than just mixing it with other topics. Okay. See the direction of my answer, the approach of my answer, that what are the matters which should be considered while developing the audit strategy. Now, what other matters you can consider? What other matters which we can consider? If possible, previous auditors' working papers in relation to opening balances also need to be considered while developing audit strategy. Okay, this will only be possible if previous auditor shares his working paper files. This can give auditor details about key risks of previous year and issues in opening balances. Okay. What other matter you can consider? What other matters, what other issues you can consider? Auditors should also consider key accounting risks which were identified while accepting client when developing audit strategy. This can include revenue recognition issues, as they are complex in Gruber company and they must have been identified while accepting Gruber company. These matters should be specifically considered while preparing the audit strategy of Gruber company. Okay. See, I would say that maximum of the points you people shared me on the question tab were not relevant for this answer, which means that majority of you people were not prepared to deal with this type of requirement. Now the question is said, sir, do we get these abnormal requirements in the exam, or we will get the predictable requirements only? You will get the abnormal requirements. You will get the requirements where you have to use your own brain. But at that point of time, what I say to my students is that read the requirement very carefully. Read the requirement very carefully. Now, one student has identified a point here, and then I will reply. You will first listen to the question he has asked. Sir, we can also inquire from the previous auditor regarding why he left the audit. My friend, why are you writing this point? Why? This would have already been asked while you were accepting the client. Now we have accepted the client and we are developing the audit strategy. Why will you ask his reason of resignation while you are developing the audit strategy? You take professional clearance at the time of acceptance. You have already accepted this client. You have already accepted the client, and now you go to him and you ask that why did you resign? He said that they are very unethical. So now will you also resign from the audit? We take clearance at the time of acceptance. We don't take clearance while developing the strategy. I hope that my answer helps you in learning and rectifying your approach. Are you getting it? Now, so what did we say? See, I also said that we will look at the previous auditor communications, but see the pattern of my writing. Look at the pattern. Our firm should consider matters which were highlighted by previous auditor, which were already highlighted while the acceptance procedure. While that was already highlighted, we will consider those issues in our audit strategy today. We will not ask about the issues today because we already asked it while we were accepting it. Further, we should consider previous year audit report. We should consider about applicable laws. We should consider about working papers relating to opening balances. We should consider about key risk. Okay. Now, one student has asked, sir, can we talk about money laundering regulations specifically? I would not suggest to write a separate point on money laundering regulation. Just write an overall point that we will look at the applicable laws. One student has stated that, sir, can we talk about materiality, sample size? Normally, In audit strategy, we don't get very much specific, but yes, you can write about it. But the direction of the question is on matters which you should be considering. So rather than directly writing that we will calculate the materiality, you can talk that we will think about the key risk in the client as they can affect the materiality and sample size of the client. Okay. Now I'm reading the questions and responding to the students, and then I will write a few more points. We can review the results from clearance to identify issues. Yes, I have already covered this point in the first point which I have written. We can consider internal controls. Yes, we can consider. Yes, that can be a valid point. Can we discuss about additional time and resources required? Yes, you can comment. Okay, for every mark point you will get 1 mark. For except audit planning, in whole of the AAA, you should follow 1 mark approach. Okay. Now, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What can be the last point? One more very easy point. In audit strategy, auditor should specifically consider the ethical matters which were highlighted while accepting client. These ethical issues should be targeted and resolved in audit strategy, such as avoiding those team members which have any ethical concern or planning second partner reviews on certain areas due to ethical matters. Okay, so if you look at my answer, we have to write 6 points as it was of 6 marks. First, we looked at the previous auditor communication. Then we looked at the previous year audit report. Then we looked at the applicable laws. Then we looked at opening balance matter. Then we looked at the key accounting risk and applicable laws. Then we looked at ethical issues. Now, few students have highlighted few more good points which you people can include. We need to consider the controls of the client, like if there are any control weaknesses. We need to consider their key accounting policies while developing the strategy. Yes, you can consider those things also. Are you people getting it? So this was apparently a non-routine requirement, but it was not very much difficult if you read the requirement in the right direction. You develop a right approach. That what the examiner is asking. He was asking that what are the matters which you should consider while developing the strategy. Now, what would be a disaster in this situation? The disaster would be that some students would start writing audit procedures. That we will do this, we will do this, we will check the bank statement, we will check the board minutes. Now, that would be a disaster. He didn't ask you about procedures. He asked that what are the matters which you would consider in initial auditing. But obviously, I would say that this was one of the requirements in which some students may not get up to the marks, but no need to worry. Because if I look at this whole question, if I talk about this whole question, part B was very easy. That was audit risk, which we did in the previous class. That was a very easy part. Then part C, audit procedures, were very easy. Then we did ethics. That was also very easy, which we did in today's class. Yes, you can also write in part A, you can also write one more point, but currently we are done with 6 points, but you can also write that we should consider sending a more experienced team in the audit of Gruber company as it is first year of audit. You can consider sending more experienced staff. Yes, that can be a good point. Are you people getting it, that how we have to develop the answer? Okay. Now, so we are done with 50 marks. Congratulations. Okay. We are done with 50 marks of this question. First of all, the format of briefing note introduction. This matters is specific to the planning. Now, we did it at last, but we didn't break the sequence of our answer, because if you will break the sequence, your professional marks will be deducted. No need to write the conclusion. Conclusion is not mandatory. There will be no marks deduction if you will not write conclusion. It's not necessary. So I don't advise my students to write conclusion. Just it's sufficient. You just need to write the introduction and make the format of the memo, the briefing note. Then we discuss the audit risk, which we discussed in the previous class. Then we discuss these principal audit procedures, and in the today's class we discuss the ethical issues. For ethical issues, I told you people that you have to follow a simple 1 mark approach. Is it clear? Now, let's move to second question. Let's move to second question, which is question number 2. Okay, let's read it. I want you all to concentrate. Now, this is a 25 marks question, easy one. 25 marks question are very easy, and these are small questions. It is 1st July 2005. You are a manager in Kelly and Company, a firm of chartered certified accountants which offers a range of assurance services. The managing director of Flynn Company, which is not currently a client of Kelly Company, has contacted you regarding a review engagement which he would like your firm to provide. Kelly and Company has already conducted specific client identification procedures in line with money laundering regulations with satisfactory results. Flynn Company operates in the food processing industry, and the company is planning to build a new food processing facility in a foreign country. This will cost approximately $15 million to build, and Flynn Company has approached its lenders to provide the necessary finance. The following exhibits available on the left-hand side of the screen provide information relevant to the question. Flynn Company, information regarding Flynn Company and review engagement. Your firm is invited to provide cash flow forecast. So apparently, the information which we have read till here, obviously we haven't read the whole question in detail. What we are finding out is that we are an audit firm called as Kelly Company, and we have been asked by Flynn Company to provide some review engagement. Okay. Flynn Company is not our existing audit client, and there is no money laundering issue. Now let's read the first exhibit so that we can get the data. I will make it a bit bigger. Now, Flynn Company is an unlisted company whose main activity involves processing frozen food. The company has several processing plants in its home country and one located in a foreign country near land. In order to expand its product range, the company is planning to build a new facility and begin processing in another foreign country, far land. Flynn Company has approached its provider of finance, Morton's Bank, to provide a $15 million loan, which will cover the necessary capital expenditure. Near land and far land both have a different currency than that used by Flynn Company. Okay, so if we read the data till here, basically what we are getting to know is that Flynn Company is planning to expand in overseas. Flynn Company is planning to expand in overseas, and they are going for a bank loan. Okay. Now, Morton's Bank has asked Flynn Company to provide a business plan for next 3 years in support of the loan application. The business plan includes forecast statement of profit or loss, cash flow. The bank has requested that forecast to be subject to an independent review and that a review report should be included with the loan application. So apparently this question is of prospective financial information. You must remember this topic, which is PFI, prospective financial information, because we are talking about forecast statement of P&L and the cash flows. Fling company is expecting to submit the business plan and the review report to the bank on 5th of August. Okay. Now, they want this report by 5th of August. If you read the question, what is the today's date? The today's date is 1st July. And they expect that this report will be submitted to the bank by 5th of August. So I think that they are in too much hurry. If you read the question, it is clearly written that the today's date is 1st of July. So if the today's date is 1st of July, then giving a report on 5th of August would be too much hurry. Flynn company is audited by Roxy Associate. A new audit manager, Mary Sunshine, has recently been recruited to your firm by us. We are not Roxy. Our name is Kelly from Flynn company, where she worked in the internal audit department, and she told you the following. I know that Flynn company auditor Roxy Associates has performed review engagements for the company in the past. I am aware that the latest external audit report for the year ended 31st March 2005 included a material uncertainty relating to going concern section due to the company's liquidity problems. In his communication with Cali Company, the managing director of Flynn Company has suggested that should Kelly Company provide the report to the bank, and assuming that the finance is provided, he will be willing to remove Roxy Associate. So I would say that the finance director is trying, the managing director is trying to give us some self-interest. He's trying to give us some bribe. Okay, make a favorable report, convince the bank, and you will get the entire audit, and appoint Cali Company to provide the audit services. The managing director has also requested that Mary Sunshine is the part of the review team and the audit team, giving her previous experience. Now, he's also requiring us to include someone in the team, and obviously that is Mary Sunshine, who was their ex-employee. So that can also lead to issue of familiarity. Okay. Then he has given us a cash flow forecast. And this forecast is given to us in the form of a spreadsheet document. Okay, this forecast is given to us in form of a spreadsheet document. He has given us a forecast that what the forecast is about, on which we have to develop a review report, and he has given us some notes also. Okay, so if we read the first requirement, what he is saying, let's read the first requirement. Using the information in Exhibit 1, only use the Exhibit 1. Using the information in Exhibit 1, evaluate the matters to be considered. Evaluate the matters to be considered by Kelly Company in deciding whether to accept Flynn Company as a client of the firm and whether to perform the review engagement to report on the business plan. Note, you do not include the matters relating specifically to client due diligence. Know your client. So don't write the basic know your client procedures. Okay, so don't write that, okay, we will look at their business and things like that. We already know that client because we have already performed the money laundering procedures. He wrote in the question. So what we have to write is evaluate the matters to be considered by Kelly Company in deciding whether to accept Flynn Company as the client of the firm and whether to perform the review engagement. So this is the first requirement which he is asking. Okay, this is the, now there are no professional marks in this question. Okay, so the name, we are doing question number 2. Okay. Question number 2, and this is our first requirement. Evaluate the matters to be considered by Cali Company in deciding whether to accept Flynn Company as a client of the firm and whether to perform the review engagement. Now, I want you all to participate, use the questions tab, and give me some pointers which you consider that should be included in the answer. What should be the pointers in your opinion? What should be the pointers which I can include? Okay, what are the matters which we should consider? Now, I will say that for every point you will get 1 mark. Okay, for every point you will get 1 mark. I want you all to participate and share some points. What points which you will consider? Everyone, what are the matters you will consider? What are the matters you will consider before accepting the engagement? Now, this is the scenario I'm opening in front of you. Now, there are bit ethical issues also in this question. Okay. Now, there are some ethical issues. What are the ethical issues? And then there are other issues also. Now, again, I will say that don't write general points. Stick to the question. The first point which I would prefer covering here is self-interest. That he's saying that if we provide the report and they get a favor, they get a loan, they will remove their previous auditor. So the first point which I will consider here is self-interest threat. The managing director of Flynn Company is offering us a self-interest. He's saying that, okay, perform the review of this engagement. Perform the review of this engagement. And if we get the loan, we will make you our complete auditor. Okay. I would again say that many of the students who are responding to me on the question tab are not reading the question. You people are not focusing on the requirement. Believe me, this will become the reason of your failure. Don't do this. Don't rush. We are not playing rapid fire. You prepare this paper for 6 months. You don't write in rapid fire. Think before writing the answer. I don't understand that why you people are in so rush. And when you people go for rushing towards the point, you give weak points. Okay. So try and concentrate the data of the question rather than using your general knowledge. This is not a general knowledge paper. Okay. Now, the first will be self-interest threat because he's offering us a self-interest. Then we need to consider that why they are not using their existing auditor, Roxy Associate. When Roxy Associate has performed review engagements in the past, why they are not using their existing auditor, we need to think about it. We need to think about it. Then we need to think about the material uncertainty which is already given on the audit report. Are they financially sound? Will they be able to pay us? I want you all to develop the approach. What I think that you people lack is the right approach to write the answer. See, what are the matters to be considered? I will underline this so that maybe you people to accept Flynn Company. What are the matters? Okay, what are the matters which you will consider? We will consider self-interest issue created by managing director of Flynn Company. The managing director of Flynn Company created a self-interest issue when he told to us that, okay, I will give you the entire audit. Yes, now comes the right point. We will think about their integrity of Flynn Company. Integrity of Flynn Company. That why they are offering inducement for favorable report. Now this is the point when I want you people to think in the direction of the question. Some more points. Okay, we will think about self-interest created by managing director. He is creating our self-interest that, okay, your self-interest will be, you want our complete audit? Do you want our complete audit? What you have to do is you just need to make sure that we get the finance provided. You just need to make sure that we get the finance provided. Okay, be our friend and get the complete audit. What else we need to consider? It need to be considered that why Roxy Associate is not given this engagement. Okay, maybe they want to hide something. Now some good points are coming. Why Flynn company wants their ex-employee to be in audit and review team? Selection of team is choice of audit partner. I will write the complete answer. I'm just making a list for you people so that you people can have an idea before developing the answer. Then you can write about familiarity threat if we will include the ex-employee. Then you can say what are the matters to be considered. Material uncertainty on GC needs to be considered as Flynn company may not be financially sound. Okay, are you people getting it? If we become an auditor also, then this transaction will make us an advocate of Flynn company. Now, if they are saying that, okay, you become our auditor also, yes, the advocacy threat for bank loan negotiation, because we will get in this bank loan negotiation activity. So now, a very important thing which I will say to you people is that developing the answer is not difficult. If you develop a right mindset, listen to me, developing an answer is not an issue if you develop a right mindset. If you once start going on the right track of thinking the answer will start developing automatically. Okay. Yes, this question is similar to ethics, and the reason being is that if you read the situation, this situation is more about ethics. You can also include the points which are relating to matters to consider before accepting PFI, that you will consider about the types of assumptions they have included. You will consider about the deadline. The deadline they are giving is very short. You can consider about the competence of our firm. Now, these can be smaller points, the simpler points which you can include. Deadline can be considered. You can think about like competence of our firm in this industry. You can think about the types of assumptions which are included in this report. Okay. Sir, do you have any handout which include these kind of responses? Yes, I have the handout. Okay, I will share the handout for PFI also. Don't worry, I have an handout. Basically, I have a handout on every topic. But okay, I will share handout of PFI also. Don't ask for all the handouts because I have a family to serve, for which I charge some fees. Okay, now, so evaluate the matters to be considered. Evaluate the matters to be considered by Kelly company. Now, there is no problem in sharing the handout with you people. The problem is that you people then share it too much further. So that affects my commercial activities. Okay, yes, I'll share. I'll share the document of PFI, and I'll try and share the other documents also. I'll be more than happy if you people pass the exam with flying marks. So evaluate the matters to be considered by Kelly company in deciding whether to accept Flynn company as a client of the firm and whether to perform the review engagement to report on business plan. So what should be the matters which we should be considering? We should be considering about the self-interest issue which the managing director created by offering us that, okay, you will get the whole audit. We need to think about the integrity. We need to think that why the existing auditors were not offered such service. Okay, we need to think that why ex-employee is being forced to be include familiarity threat, material uncertainty issue. We will explain each of the point. We will develop the answer. But what my primary objective was to develop your thinking process. That's why I listed these points. Okay. One student has written, sir, can the forecast be manipulated as going concern issue is created? You can cover it in material uncertainty point that maybe the company is just trying to get the loan to cover its liquidity issues. Okay, so we will develop these points, but let's go on a break for 15 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll develop these points. Okay, so let's go for break for 15 minutes. You people also go and take some fresh air and then we will start developing this part and then we look at requirement B also. Okay. Okay, so let's resume. So before the break, we were discussing this question number 2, in which we were discussing the matters to be considered, which should be considered before accepting the engagement. Just a minute. The engagement of Flynn Company, the PFI engagement. Okay. Just a minute, some student had asked me a question. So considering they want a favorable report, we need to consider whether Flynn Company will give us access to all financial documents. Yes, they will give the access. They haven't said anything like that. They just offered us that if you give a favorable report, we will give you the entire audit engagement also of ours. So obviously anyone who is asking for a review engagement will give you the access for their documents. Okay, that would be very basic thing to write in the examination. Okay, so let's start writing the answer. We identified the points. Now we are starting developing them. Okay, now, so evaluate the matters to be considered by Kelly Company in deciding whether to accept Flynn Company as a client of the firm and whether to perform the review engagement to report on the business plan. Now, we will start developing each of the point. Now, what you need to understand is that each point will worth 1 mark. So don't write it in too much detail. Okay, limit your answer. And very important thing, try to understand that for each mark you will get 1 mark. So don't write more than 2 to 3 lines. 3.5 lines will be maximum. Okay, Flynn Company managing director has offered to Kelly Company that if they perform review of forecast data and Flynn Company is successful in getting loan from bank, then Flynn Company will give them their entire audit work. This creates a self-interest as while reviewing forecast data, our firm may get biased in order to and give favorable report in order to get the entire audit engagement. Okay, so I will repeat it again. I want you all to concentrate on it. The first issue which is being identified here is that the Flynn Company managing director has told us that if you perform this review and you give a favorable report, then we will give you this entire audit work. So it is a self-interest threat. Now, why is it a self-interest threat? Because this attraction, this motivation that we need the entire audit work may force us that we don't do audit in the independent manner. Okay. Further, concern on integrity of Flynn Company is also created due to offer of entire audit work. Flynn Company may be using this factor as an inducement for Kelly Company to give a favorable report on their forecast so that Flynn Company is successful in getting the loan. Okay, so we discussed the points before going to the break, and as I told you people that it is very important that you read the data of the question rather than writing the general points. Until and unless you will read the data of the question, you will never be able to develop a good point. Okay, you'll never be able to develop good points. Read the data of the question, read the requirement, and then try to understand that what the examiner is trying to ask. Okay, so here the examiner is trying to ask that what are the matters which you will be considering while accepting the Flynn company engagement. Now, in the data, the managing director gave us an offer which is creating a self-interest threat. Then we discussed that it also creates a concern on their integrity. Okay, we highlighted these points already. It also needs to be considered. It also needs to be considered that why Flynn company existing auditor Roxy Associates is not performing this, that why Flynn company existing auditor Roxy Associate is not performing this engagement. In the past, Roxy Associate has performed such engagements. Now, how did we know that Roxy Associate has performed such engagements? Because in the comments by Mary Sunshine, if you remember, in the comments of Mary Sunshine, it was clearly written that I know that Flynn company auditor Roxy Associate has performed review engagements for the company in the past. Now we need to consider that now what was the issue that they are not performing such engagement. In past, Roxy Associate has performed such engagements for Flynn company. Okay, reason of this needs to be evaluated as there may be some ethical issue involved. So we need to consider about it. So for every point you will have one mark. One student has asked that, sir, how we need to work on time management skill. So for time management skill, I always say to my students is that the only solution is that you have to do these complete papers within the time limit. See, what you need to understand is that you learn a topic, you do the topical past papers. This will never improve your time management skill until and unless you will do complete papers within the time constraints. Okay, because when you look at the complete papers, you get some good requirements and you get some difficult requirements. And very importantly, you also need to understand, that you have to write in a limited form. You don't need to do overwriting. You have to write in limited form. Like for 1 mark, you have to restrict yourself at 3.5 lines. Now, since many of you don't practice the complete papers, what happens in the exam is that you do overwriting, and then that results in time management issues. Okay, let's move forward. Now, fourth point is why Flynn company wants their ex-employee in the audit team. Now, managing director of Flynn company has specifically required to include who? What was the name? To include Mary Sunshine. To include Mary Sunshine in audit and review team. This creates a concern on integrity as it is decision of audit partner to decide the audit team. Client should not require specific employees to be included in team. Okay, this creates a concern that they may want to hide some data by including Mary Sunshine in audit team. Okay, so very important thing we need to understand that we cannot take the dictation of the client. that who should be included in the audit team and who should not be included. Even if we are including Mary Sunshine on the request of managing director, what we need to understand is that we should not be giving any influencing position to her. Okay, because if she will get an influencing position in the audit team, it will again create an issue. Now, if Mary Sunshine is included in audit team, in audit or in review team, then it will create issue of familiarity also. Why it will create issue of familiarity also? Mary Sunshine was an ex-employee of Flynn Company. She may use her existing knowledge. She may use her existing knowledge of Flynn Company during audit, which will affect independent skepticism, required during audit activity. Now, what do you mean by this? Now, this is very important thing. If I know someone already from the past, listen to me. If I know someone already from the past, I will never review him with independent skepticism, because my past knowledge, my past understanding will continue to affect my independent skepticism today. It will never allow me to think with an independent mindset. Okay, so I made a list of points for you people. First of all, the attraction of an offer, that we will get an audit. This creates self-interest, right? Why he is giving us an offer? This creates issue of integrity. Why their existing auditor is not working? Then why he is forcing us to include someone in the audit team? Then we will say that if we include her, it will create issue of familiarity. Okay, and even if we include her on their request, we should make sure that Mary Sunshine should not have any influencing position in the audit activity. Now, point number 6, material uncertainty. Material uncertainty, ongoing concern, included in Flynn Company's recent audit report, also needs to be considered, while deciding to accept the engagement. Okay, this creates concern on their liquidity position and their ability to pay the firm fees. This is very important. We are not doing the work for social services. If the client is in liquidity problem and he do not pays our dues, then that will be a very big problem. Further, it also creates a possibility that they may be taking loan by name of expansion to resolve their liquidity crisis. So we need to consider this. Okay, are you people understanding it? Please respond to me, everyone. Okay, so what we need to understand is, what we need to evaluate is that what are the factors which we will be considering? What are the factors which we will be considering while taking a decision? That whether we should accept Flynn Company as our client or not. So we first made a list of the points and then we are explaining it. See, if you look at each of my point, I'm writing with a very clear mindset that I will get 1 mark for each point. Okay, the important thing is to remain relevant. Yes, don't write excess points. No, there is no need to use headings. No need. Just think of it. We are giving service for 1 mark. 1 mark for each point. This is too much for the examiner. He should be happy on it. Okay. Now, one student has asked a question, sir, what if we are not able to develop 10 points? Then one small advice for you. We pass at 50 marks. We don't pass at 100 marks. So don't waste time for perfection. Now, this is very important. Don't waste time for perfection. Save your time. Your time management is very important. Rather than wasting the time and thinking for 10 points, it is much better to save time and move forward. Okay. And see, you can never be ideal. You can never write like me, or you can never write like an examiner, because the examiner is too much experience and I'm also far more experienced. And even I'm not writing in the exam situation. Okay. So you need to write like you are a student, you are in an exam situation, and you have to write reasonably. You cannot write absolute answers. Now let's move forward. 7th, if we become an auditor, then this will also create an advocacy threat. If our firm will negotiate with the bank on behalf of Flynn Company to make sure they get the loan, then this will create issue of advocacy also. Why this will create an issue of advocacy also? Being an assurance provider, it is not permitted to advocate or promote the client interest in front of third parties. Okay. So I think this is very easy. We are just thinking and we are developing points that these all are the factors which we will consider before accepting the engagement. Okay. So 7th point was that if we become an auditor, then this will make us an advocate. Then the deadline also needs to be considered. What do you mean by deadline? Today's date is 1st July 20x5, and Flynn Company expects what do they expect? Flynn Company expects to submit all documents till 5 August 20x5. It is a very short deadline, as currently they haven't prepared the forecast data. So they haven't prepared the forecast data. Therefore, performing review in very short time will affect the quality. Our firm should consider negotiating a more flexible deadline, okay, or a more convenient deadline. Okay. Then 9th point which we identified was we will look at competence of our firm to perform the valuation services. Normally, the audit firms do have the competency to perform the valuation services. Normally, the firms do have the competence, but still we need to consider that whether we have the competence to provide the valuation services specific to this industry. Competence of our firm to perform valuation service also needs to be evaluated. Normally, auditors do have the competence to perform valuations, but still it needs to be evaluated that whether our firm has relevant industry knowledge and skills or not. Yes, we can also think about the fees. We can also include about fees. Now, that can be an advice that if you want to meet a strict deadline, you should think about including more experienced staff. Okay, and the last point will be on types of assumptions. Lastly, it also needs to be considered that what type of assumptions are used while developing this forecast data. If hypothetical assumptions are used, then it will increase risk of engagement, because hypothetical assumptions are more risky. Okay, hypothetical assumptions are baseless assumptions. In contrast, best estimates based on trends reduce risk of engagement. If the best estimates are used, now see, there are two type of things. One is hypothetical assumptions and one are best estimates. So if you look at it, see, I would say that scoring these 10 marks would be very easy. It was not difficult. Now I have a question from you. When this paper is so easy and it is so easy to solve, why only 35% pass rate? 65% of the students fail in this exam. Why? So I always say to my students that it is your overconfidence which leads to your failure. How many of you are repeaters who have already given this exam earlier? How many of you? Don't feel ashamed. How many of you are repeaters? One student, two, three, four. Many are now replying. Now I have a question from you people. Now answer me very honestly. When you gave the exam first time, how many complete papers did you attempt it and get them marked from the tutor? So my opinion is, students have started responding none, zero. My opinion is that hardly 10% of the students do complete papers and get them checked. I teach around 200 students in one attempt. And believe me, 10 to 15% send me the assignments for checking. Rest of them don't send their assignments, don't send their mocks. Even though I charge them for this facility, I have a separate email ID. I try and get them marked, but still the students don't submit their assignments. They don't submit their complete papers. So believe me, only thing which will increase your chances of passing is practice. Do complete papers, send them to the teacher and get them marked. Yes, it is true that since 15-20% get their paper checked, then 35% pass rate globally is a very good result. Because I would say 15-20% get passed due to their parents' prayers. So see, practice is very important. Do complete papers, get them marked, send to your tutor, and learn the feedback. And don't do all the papers together. Send papers one by one so that your tutor marks them, he gives you the feedback, okay? And then you improve in the next paper. Okay, whatever your age is, whatever you are, a professional student or a basic student, whoever you are, the only key to pass, is practice. And that is what I have learned. Okay, if you want few papers to be marked, even you are not my student, I will facilitate you that you people can send me on my WhatsApp one paper, one mock paper. I will check for you all for free, for any charge, without any charges. But one paper, please, because the exams are near. We have to check for our own students also. But yes, if any one of you want their complete one mock paper marked, I will mark it for free. Okay. Yeah, I can check additional papers for obviously my students, but for all of you, I'm giving you one feedback of one mock paper free of charge. But believe me, I'm saying it here on the platform that despite of this, I'm giving you this facility for free. Hardly 10-15 students will send it for marking. Okay, please make sure that do send and get a feedback. This will improve your chances of pass. Okay, now, so what are the matters to be considered? The first matter was self-interest rate. The second matter was the integrity of the client, that why the client is trying to bribe us. Okay, one student is asking, sir, from where we can get mock. There is no need of mock. Pick up the recent papers and start doing them. Okay, that mocks are also made from the actual past paper. So pick up one paper and do it within the exam time, within the exam pressure. And it would be much better if you will do on the exam software, so that you will learn how to use the tools of the software and you can increase your speed. Now, then we discussed that why their existing auditor Roxy Associate, why their existing auditor Roxy Associate is not doing this engagement, why they are moving away from their existing auditor. Maybe there is some ethical issue. Then managing director specifically asked to include one of their ex-employee in the team. That is also not good, because the audit team is through our decision, not through their decision. Then if we include her, it will create familiarity threat. So 1 mark, 5 points. 6 point will be material uncertainty on going concern, which is included in the report. Now this creates a doubt that whether they will be able to pay our fees or not. 7th point, if we go and talk on their behalf with the bank, we will become their advocate. 8th point is on deadline. 9th point is on competence, and 10th point is on the types of assumption. I hope that this is clear. Okay, so we are done with the first 10 marks of this question. I will delete this list of points which we made for discussion only. Now we are moving towards the requirement B. I want you all to concentrate on it. Requirement B, which is of 15 marks. No, there is no need to give conclusion. No conclusion. No conclusion. Not even in question number 1. No conclusion. Okay. In question number 1, you give introduction because there is professional marks. In rest of the questions, even there is no need to give introduction also. See, I started writing the answer directly. 1 mark for each point. Okay. Now, let's look at requirement B. Using the information in Exhibit 2. Okay. No, not writing conclusion will not affect your professional marks. Conclusion is not required by the examiner. He only requires introduction and the format of the briefing note, and that is only in question number 1, where there are professional marks. In question number 1 also the conclusion is not required. In the rest of the questions, there are no professional marks. So when there are no professional marks, you don't need to write anything. Just write what he has asked. Okay. Using the information in Exhibit 2 and assuming that Kelly Company accepts the engagement to review the forecast, Part B1 for 6 marks. Evaluate the assumptions used by the management. Evaluate the assumptions used by the management and the completeness of the cash flow forecast. Explain why particular assumptions should be challenged and approached with professional skepticism. So now we need to look at the exhibit number 2. You have to evaluate the assumptions and you have to comment on the completeness of the forecast. There are 6 marks. So let's look at it. Let's move towards part B1. Okay. So we are doing part B1. I have copy pasted the requirement here. So evaluate the assumptions used by the management and completeness of the cash flow forecast prepared explaining why particular assumptions should be challenged. Okay, so now we are moving towards the exhibit number 2. I want you all to concentrate on it. Now this is the forecast which is given to us. Now, cash flow forecast for the 3 years to 30th June 2008. I want you all to concentrate on it. 6 months to 31st December 2005, 2006. 31st December 2005, then 31st December 2006, then 31st December 2006, 30th June 2007, 31st December 2007, and 30th June 2008. So the data is of 6 months. Okay, the data given is of 6 months. Okay, now if you remember the today's date, what was the today's date if you remember in the question? What was the today's date? If you remember in the question, it was written here that today's date is July 2005. The today's date is July 2005. They will give the report to the bank on August 2005. Okay. Now, if you look at the forecast data, so for the first 6 months, 31st December 2005, then 30th June 6, then 31st December, so it's 6 months data. Average monthly sales 200 to 234, then 265, 288, 308, 318. Then this is the total revenue of 6 months. This is the total revenue of the 6 months. If you look at it, he has taken the average monthly sales and he multiplied it by 6. Then he has told us that what will be the cash inflows. What will be the average cash collection we will get? Like from the revenue of 1200, we will get cash collection of 1050 because the sales will also be on credit. Now, these are the operating expenses. Now, there are marketing for new product ranges, interest payment, which is constant, dividends, loan receipt of 15 million. He will spend 7.5 million and 7.5 million. And then he made the net cash flow statement. Okay. Notes and key assumptions. Monthly sales are based on management forecast with predicted sales growth as follows. In December 2005, there will be 0% growth. In June 2006, there will be 17% growth, then 13.2% growth, then 8.7, 6.9, and 3.4%. Sales. Sales are expected to increase in 2006 when the new processing facility opens in Farland. The new product range are expected to be very popular and the product launch will be supported by an advertising campaign. In addition to output from the new processing facility, production levels at existing facilities are planned to increase by at least 10%. He says that we will increase our existing productions also by 10%. On average, cash is received in following pattern: 25% in month of sale, 50% following the month of sale, and 25% 2 months after the sale. Operating expenses are forecast to increase over the 3-year production period as production increases. The company is expecting to benefit from economies of scale. The new processing facility is planned to commence production on 31st March 2006. So we have just read the data till here. Okay, now let's read the requirement again before starting to answer it. Evaluate the assumptions. Evaluate the assumptions which are used by the management. Evaluate the assumptions which are used by the management and the completeness of the cash flow forecast. So first you have to talk about the assumptions, and then you also have to talk about the completeness of the forecast. That whether in your opinion the forecast is complete or not, whether you think that forecast provides complete data or not, or whether there is something which is missing in the forecast. Okay, whether the forecasted data is complete or not. Okay, so let's look at it. I want you all to listen to me very carefully. Now, if I talk about the assumptions, he's saying that the new production facility is planned to commence production on 31st March 2006. Now, just give it a thought. Just give it a thought. Today's date is 1st July 2005. On 5th August 2005, he said that we will submit the data to the bank. If you remember, on 5th August 2005, he said that we will submit the data to the bank. Now, when you will submit the data to the bank on 5th August, obviously bank will take 1 or 2 months to process the data and then they will give you the loan. Let's take it 2 months on the safe side. It can be variable. Like if you get the cash amount till September or October 2005, then he says that our production facility will get ready in such a short span of time. And not only it will get ready, it will start to commence the production. Now, this is obviously a very questionable thing that normally the things are not very much fast, and very important thing, you are going in another country. If you remember, they are going in a different country, which is far land. So how the things will happen so fast that you will get the land, you will get the raw material, you will get the labor, you will build up the production. Like on 5th of August, you are submitting the data, and then August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. In 8 months, within these 8 months, what will happen? You will get the loan, you will purchase the land, you will get everything, and you will make the production facility also. Now, 8 months are pretty much fast. We cannot even build our house in 8 months. Constructing a house also takes 1 or 2 years. You will make whole production facility and that will start production in 31st March. That is very questionable. Then one more thing. Now I want you all to participate with me. Question their assumptions. In 6 months to 30th June, he says that our sale will increase by 17%. In March, your production facility will start. April, May, June, and you will generate 17% of the sale. How is it possible? How is it possible? Then if you look at the data, he didn't think about any exchange rate issues. What about the exchange rate fluctuations? Where is exchange rate assumptions? Just think about it. There is no taxation matters which are included. The finance cost. Now, this is a very good point if you people are able to identify. What is the finance cost? It is 30, 30, 30, 30. Now I want you all to take out your calculators. Take out your calculators. For 6 months, the finance cost is 30. So for whole year, it will be 60. The loan is of 15 million. Okay. So what you can say is that on a loan of 15,000, you are just paying a finance cost of 60. So if I calculate an effective rate, it gives me an effective rate of 0.4%. What a lovely bank you have. Please, we also want to take a loan from them. You are paying a finance cost of 30 for 6 months. So for whole year, it will be 60. 30 plus 30, which means 60 is the finance cost of whole year. And the loan balance is 15,000. So this gives me the effective rate multiplied by 100, 0.4%. Which is this bank? Please also give us their number. Obviously, these are hypothetical assumptions. Okay, so what he is asking from us, listen to me, evaluate the assumptions used by the management and the completeness of the cash flow forecast. Okay, so we can talk about assumption on start of production facility on on 31st March 2006 is questionable. Assumption of increase in sales by 17% in 6 months of 30th June 2006. Obviously, this is questionable. Okay. Finance cost of 60 on loan of 15,000 is questionable, as effective rate will be 0.4%. Obviously, this is questionable. No tax matters are included. If you look at the forecast, he says that in this entire cash flow forecast, there is no tax, revenue, cash inflow, operating expense, marketing, interest, dividend, loan receipt, capital expenditure, and there is no tax. Okay, there is no tax in it. Okay, then one very good point, one student has asked that in the very first quarter you are paying dividend. In the 6 months of 31st December 2005, you are paying a dividend of 100, whereas your opening cash is only 50. The bank will hit you so hard that you are using the loan amount to pay the dividends. The loan is for the project, not for paying out the dividend. Okay, so we have to question the reasonableness of their assumptions, and we have to comment on the completeness of the data. Then you can comment that no exchange rate impact is considered. What about the exchange rate? You are going in a different country, that is foreign, and you are not even thinking about the exchange rate issue. So what are the assumptions which they have taken? You have to question their assumptions, and you have to comment on the completeness of the cash flow forecast. Then if you look at their assumptions, I think it's very simple question. There is a bunch of rubbish assumptions they have used. They are saying that in the operating expense, the company is expecting to benefit from economies of scale as production increases at each production facility. Now, this is also very important to ask that when you are going to a completely different country, which will have a separate production facility, then how will you get economies of scale? Economies of scale usually happen when we increase our capacities at the same place. You are going to a different country, obviously, rather than having economies of scale, there is a very high chance that you will get diseconomies of scale. You will get diseconomies. Economies of scale means bulk purchase discounts, big operation benefits. So considering that you are going in a completely new market and you are expecting economies of scale in the starting years, obviously this is not very much wise. Then he said that we will increase the production level at each of the production facility to increase by at least 10%. Now there is also a question. There is also a question that whether the current facilities have some spare capacity. You can also, yes, one student has asked, we can also raise a concern that the forecast does not include any repayment plans. Because considering this forecast and slow development of cash flow, the question is that how will you repay 15 million? Okay. So there can be several matters. Economies of scale is questionable. Okay. There is a question on their assumption that they will achieve economies of scale. Growth in existing production facilities is questionable, that whether existing production facilities have at least 10% have at least 10% spare capacity that they can grow their production facility. So we just need to write 6 points because this requirement is of 6 marks. So let's start developing the points. Flynn company has now 1 mark for each point. Okay. Now one student has asked very good question. Only marketing costs will be incurred in first 1 year, and then the sales will continue to rise. How is it possible? Marketing is an ongoing process. Flynn company assumes that its production facility will be ready to produce output by 31st March 20x6. It is an optimistic assumption. It is an optimistic assumption. Why is it an optimistic assumption? As it currently plans to submit documents to bank on 5th August 20x5, assuming that in 8 months, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, assuming that in 8 months till 31st March 20x6, it will get loan, it will purchase land in other country, and will arrange all logistics, and will also be able to start production is bit optimistic and unreal. Okay, so you are taking a very unrealistic assumption that you will submit the documents to the bank on 5th of August, and in just 8 months the bank will review it, they will give you the loan, you will buy the land, you will get the labor, you will get all the logistics, you will complete the entire production facility, and in 8 months you will start production. How is it possible? Then assumption that sales will increase by 17% in 6 months to 30th June 20x6 is also unrealistic. Why is it also unrealistic? Think about it. Is also unrealistic. As per Flynn company assumptions, new production facility will start from 31st March 20x6. In just 3 months, it will be able to increase total sales by 17%. In just 3 months, it will be able to increase total sales by 17%. It is not realistic. It is abnormal, as startup problems and ability to gain market in new country is being ignored. Now, what do you think? You will construct a new facility, and on the very first day, you will open the button and the facility will work on full capacity. This is not practical. In first 6 months, obviously, there will be many problems. Okay, now let's move forward. Finance cost of 60 for whole year is also unrealistic on loan of 15,000. Why is it unrealistic on loan of 15,000? It gives effective interest rate of 0.4% only. Such a low interest rate is not practically possible. Okay, and you are going for a new country, obviously the bank will ask a premium for their risk rather than just offering you 0.4% annually. Okay, forecast is incomplete as it currently fails to include impact of tax. Okay, taxation impact will be part of forecast, and currently it is not considered. And then exchange rate issues are also not considered, in forecast due to fluctuation, because there are different currencies in all countries. Ireland is a completely different country. Due to fluctuations of exchange rate, actual collections of Flynn company may change. Believe me, it is such an easy question, or I would say it is such an easy exam. Yes, trial periods are not covered. You are going into a new industry and you are not considering that there will be some trial periods, there will be some startup problems. Okay, then assumption of Flynn company that they will get benefit of economies of scale is also questionable. Why is it also questionable? Think about it. Okay, Flynn company is entering in a new and separate market of farmland, assuming that it will get economies of scale. There is not a practical assumption. It may create diseconomies of scale. If you would have said diseconomies of scale, I would have agreed, because when you go to a new market, your focus gets diverted. It may get diseconomies of scale due to new market being entered. Okay, so we have to evaluate the assumptions of the management. Which they have used in the forecast that was given in the exhibit 2. This was the exhibit 2. We have to evaluate their key assumptions, and we have to comment on the completeness of the data. We have to evaluate their key assumptions and we have to comment on the completeness of the forecast. So we question that, assuming that the production facility will start production till 31st of March, this is questionable. Sales will increase by 17% in the first 6 months, this is questionable. Low interest rate is questionable. We haven't thought about tax, this is questionable. Interest rate is ignored, this is questionable. The assumption of economies of scale is questionable. Then you are saying that your existing production facilities, if you read this point, your existing production facilities will increase their output by at least 10%. This is questionable, that whether the existing production facilities have spare capacity or not. How will they increase? Okay. Yes, one student has asked that, sir, the inflation data and all these things are not considered. Obviously, this also makes the data incomplete. Okay. Yes, one very good point identified by the student. It also needs to be considered that what is the credit practice which is being offered in farmland. This is not considered. Okay. Okay. Are you people getting it? Okay, are you people getting it? Now, let's move to another requirement. Are you people getting it? Okay. So, in this part, we commented on the validity of the assumptions and we commented that whether the forecast was complete or not. Is it clear? Now, let's move forward. Now, very easy requirement. Very easy requirement. Let's look at it. Discuss or design the examination procedures which should be performed in review of the filling company cash flow forecast. What should be the examination procedures? What should be the examination procedures which we should be performing? Design the examination procedures which should be performed in the review of filling company cash flow forecast. What should be the procedures which we should be performing? Now, this is of 9 marks. 9 procedures. We look at the forecast and we'll design the procedures. Like you will say that we will take the breakup of the operating expenses. We will take the breakup of the capital expenditure. We will check the opening cash balance. We will look at the loan agreement to confirm the finance cost. Simple, simple procedures. 9 easy marks. 9 easy marks. Design the examination procedures which should be performed in the review of Flynn Company cash flow forecast. Very easy, 9 marks. Let's do it. Now, these are my favorite marks. I always say to the students that when you ever get the marks for procedures, these are very easy. But you people will be, I would say, surprised to hear that once we got one student's script rechecked. So his most of the marks were deducted in procedures. An examiner also highlights in his comments that normally when the students write the procedures, they write two general procedures. Don't write too much general procedures. Try and relate the procedures to the data of the question. Try and relate to the numbers. I've already taught you people that how to write a procedure. You write what the procedure is and what will it verify. Okay. So let's start writing the procedures. I want you all to concentrate. Now, so the first procedure will be, now one thing, in forecast financial information, you can write some general procedures also, that you will review the competence of the person who prepared this forecast. You will look at the accounting policies, that whether they have been used consistently. You will recalculate the entire forecast. These are some general procedures which can be used every time. Okay, but don't write too much general procedures. You can get 2-3 marks on these general procedures. So first of all, I will write the easy ones, because when we talk about procedures on the forecast, some procedures are general which examiner also writes every time. Okay, now competence and expertise of the person who prepared forecast needs to be reviewed, as if he do not holds relevant competence, then reliability of forecast will get questionable. Okay, so the first procedure will be competence and expertise of the person who prepared forecast needs to be reviewed. Okay, then it needs to be review that whether accounting policies used in forecast are consistent with accounting policies currently used by Flynn Company in its financial statements. See what I'm doing. First of all, I started with the general procedures. Whenever you are writing procedures on the forecast, these are the general procedures that you review competence and expertise. Okay, review competence and expertise of the person who prepared the forecast. As if you do not have the relevant competence, the reliability of the forecast will be questionable. Review the accounting policies, recalculate the entire forecast data to verify its accuracy. Now, these are the three general procedures. There are other general procedures also, but we write 2-3 general procedures because otherwise the examiner normally puts a limit. The normal examiner normally puts a limit on general procedures, but there are 2-3 marks available for general procedures. So competence and expertise of the person, review the accounting policy and recalculate. Now let's move towards some specific procedures. Review the proposed loan agreement of bank to confirm the interest rate used by who? Used by Flynn Company in its forecast, as it is abnormally low at 0.4%. So you need to review the loan agreement. Now you people can have other procedures also, like if you look at the examiner answer is rated like 30 procedures, but you just need to write 9 of them. So 9 procedures are nothing in this forecasting data. So you can review the proposed loan agreement. Okay. Review breakup of capital expenditure. Review breakup of capital expenditure of $15 million to verify that what amounts will be spent on which assets. Okay, which assets will be purchased, we need to verify. Okay, cost of those assets can be verified through supplier quotations and market data. Obviously, they are saying that we will spend 15 million. So we need to confirm that on what this 15 million will be spent. Okay. Please tell me some points also. You people are not giving me some good points. Okay. Review past customer data. Review past customer data to confirm the collection assumptions of Flynn Company. Okay, you need to review the past customer data. Current debtor aging analysis. Current debtor aging analysis needs to be evaluated that whether customers pay in assumed time or not. Believe me, these are very simple 9 marks. Very simple. Okay, what else you can do? You can confirm the opening cash balance of the forecast. If you look at the forecast, the opening cash balance, you can confirm the opening cash balance of the forecast. The opening cash balance is 50 million or 50,000. Now this opening cash balance can be verified from their cash book or the bank statement. Confirm opening cash balance of the forecast from cash book and bank statement, as it is the actual position at start of forecast period. So you can confirm the opening cash balance. Are you people getting it? You can ask the management to give the basis of their assumption behind 17% growth. Okay, so how many procedures being done? Competence and expertise of the preparer, accounting policy recalculate. Three procedures, then loan agreement, fourth one, fifth one was on capex, sixth one was on customer past data, then seventh was on opening cash balance. Two more procedures. Two more procedures. What can be two more procedures? Look at the forecast and you will just start getting them. You can take the breakup of the operating expenses so that you can get the fixed element and the variable element, that what is the fixed cost in the operating cost and what is the variable cost in the operating cost, because the variable cost should be increasing in line with the increase in revenue. Get the breakup of the operating expenses. You can compare the breakup of operating expenses with the previous year to verify the completeness. Okay. What else you can do? He said that we will increase the output of our existing production facilities by 10%. So you will take the data of the production facilities, that whether the production facilities have 10% spare capacity. He said that the processing plant will start production by 31st March 2006. So you will take the vendor's report that whether the production plant will be able to start the production by the given date. Okay. Review breakup of operating expenses and compare it with existing data to verify that all elements have been included. Further breakup of fixed and variable elements also need to be considered, as variable elements should rise with increase in sales. Yes, you can write a procedure on tax also, that we will review the tax laws of that country, that whether there is a tax exemption or not. Okay. Review production report of existing production capacities to confirm that they have sufficient spare capacity to increase their production by 10%. Then you can also ask the management about their assumption behind economies of scale, their assumption behind growth in sales. There can be many procedures, but since he asked only 9, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Are you people getting it? So we have completed this part also, this question also, complete question of 25 marks. Believe me, it was so easy. First of all, they were evaluate the matters to be considered while considering to accept Flynn company. Okay. Then we discussed the assumptions of the management and completeness of the forecast, and then we discussed the procedures. Okay. You can write audit procedures also, but normally in forecast engagement, we perform the review procedures, not very detailed procedures. Like you will say that I'll go and get the creditor confirmations and debtor confirmations, that are normally not used. We use the review procedures. I hope that you people are understanding it. So today we completed this question number 2. We completed this question number 2. And we completed the question number 1, which we started in the previous class. Okay, so this is the entire answer. Again, at the end, I would say that if anyone needs any document or wants to be added in the WhatsApp group, this is my number. You people can drop me a message on my WhatsApp. I will send you a link. Okay. Obviously, some students have sent me a message and maybe I haven't replied. Then normally it takes me 1 day to reply because I have lots of messages to respond. So wait for a day at least. Okay. For tomorrow, we will complete the question number 3 of this paper, and then we will start one more paper. So all of these entire 4 days, we will focus on practicing. We will focus on dealing with complete papers, as the primary objective of these sessions is practice to pass, which is obviously the real objective. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.